For thousands of years, wild horses have symbolized freedom. Across open plains and vast grasslands, they moved with the wind, guided only by instinct and the rhythm of nature. These powerful animals were built for survival. They endured blistering summers, freezing winters, violent storms, and relentless predators. Generation after generation learned how to navigate a harsh but balanced world. But today, something unseen is reshaping the land beneath their hooves. The climate itself is shifting. The seasons that once followed a predictable rhythm are becoming uncertain. Rainfall that once nourished the grasslands now arrives too late, or sometimes not at all. Heat waves stretch longer than before, draining life from the soil. Rivers shrink, watering holes vanish, and the green pastures that once supported entire herds slowly fade into dry, cracked earth. For wild horses, these changes are not distant warnings about the future. They are challenges that must be faced every single day. Herds that once grazed comfortably across fertile valleys now travel farther and farther in search of food and water. The land they remember is no longer the same. Yet despite these hardships, the wild horse continues forward. It adjusts, it learns, and it survives. Because in the wilderness, survival has never belonged to the strongest creature alone. It belongs to the most adaptable. From the deserts of Nevada to the sweeping grasslands of Mongolia, wild horses are quietly rewriting their ancient survival strategies. Their migration routes are shifting. Their breeding cycles are changing. Even the social dynamics within their herds are evolving to match the demands of a transforming world. This is not only a story about struggle, it is also a story about resilience, courage, and the extraordinary ability of life to adapt. This is the story of how wild horses are learning to survive in a rapidly changing climate. The environment these horses depend on is transforming faster than ever before. Fields that once supported thick grass now resemble dusty plains. The small lakes and watering holes that formed the center of herd life are disappearing under relentless heat. What was once a thriving landscape has begun to feel silent, dry, and uncertain. For wild horses, climate change is not a concept discussed in research papers. It is their daily reality. Droughts stretch across seasons that once brought rain. Storms, when they arrive, can be sudden and violent, damaging fragile ecosystems. Winters no longer follow familiar patterns, sometimes arriving late, sometimes bringing extreme cold that animals struggle to endure. The consequences reach every member of the herd. Mares must nourish their foals, while grass becomes increasingly scarce. Young horses grow weaker when food is limited. Stallions, responsible for protecting and guiding their groups, face longer journeys and greater exhaustion as they search for safe grazing areas. Movement has always been central to the survival of wild horses, but now the distances they must travel are expanding, while the energy required to make those journeys grows heavier. In certain regions, entire herds have quietly disappeared, not because of predators or human hunters, but because the ecosystems they relied upon slowly deteriorated. Researchers studying these horses have begun to notice the signs. Foals are born less frequently. Herd territories shrink as resources become scarce. The animals themselves appear thinner and more vulnerable than in previous decades. Unlike sudden disasters, climate change does not arrive all at once. It unfolds slowly, altering landscapes piece by piece until the familiar world is no longer recognizable. And yet, even as the land grows more difficult, the wild horse refuses to surrender. Its spirit remains steady, quiet, determined, and ready to adapt once again. Adaptation has always been the key to survival in the natural world. As climates shift and ecosystems transform, wild horses are demonstrating an extraordinary ability to adjust their behavior. In some regions, herds are gradually moving into higher elevations, where temperatures remain cooler and water sources last longer throughout the year. Migration routes that remained unchanged for generations are now evolving as horses search for safer environments. Even daily routines are beginning to shift. Instead of travelling and grazing during the heat of the day, many herds now move at night when temperatures drop and energy can be conserved. Their diets are changing as well. Where lush grass once provided abundant nourishment, horses are learning to survive on tougher plants, desert shrubs, dry grasses, and vegetation that previous generations might have ignored. Within each herd, leadership plays a critical role in these adjustments. The lead mare, often the most experienced member of the group, becomes the guide through an uncertain landscape. Drawing upon years of memory and instinct, she remembers hidden water sources and seasonal grazing areas that others might overlook. Her decisions determine where the herd travels, when it rests, and how it survives. Even reproduction patterns are adapting. In some regions, horses are giving birth earlier in the year, so that foals arrive during the brief window when spring grasses grow before the intense heat of summer returns. These changes may appear subtle, but they represent a powerful truth. Life is constantly evolving. Through intelligence, cooperation, and movement, wild horses continue to endure even as their world transforms. Every hoofbeat across the plains tells the same message: nature finds a way. For most of history, wild horses survived without human involvement. Their instincts, their herd structure, and their deep connection to the land guided them through countless generations. But today, as climate change reshapes their habitats, the role of humans has become increasingly complicated. In some places, expanding development and competition for resources have reduced the lands available for wild horses to roam. At the same time, conservationists are working to protect what remains of these fragile ecosystems. Across the world, organisations are restoring natural water sources, protecting grasslands, and reintroducing native plants that once sustained wild horse populations. In the American West, scientists and conservationists are studying migration patterns to help ensure horses can safely travel between seasonal grazing areas. In regions like Mongolia and Australia, researchers collaborate with local communities to find solutions that support both environmental balance and healthy horse populations. Yet these efforts are not always simple. Wild horses occupy a complex position within modern ecosystems. Some people view them as an important cultural symbol worth preserving. Others worry that growing horse populations compete with native wildlife for limited resources. The discussion around conservation and management continues, reflecting the complicated relationship between humanity and the natural world. But even within these debates, one thing remains clear: there is still hope. Every restored water source, every protected stretch of land, every rescued foal represents another step toward a future where wild horses can continue to roam freely. Protecting them means protecting something larger than a single species. It means protecting the wild landscapes themselves. The lives of wild horses also reveal a deeper lesson about survival. Within the herd, strength does not come from dominance alone. It comes from cooperation. Every horse has a role within the group. When one animal weakens, the herd adjusts its pace. When danger approaches, they move together as a unified force. The lead mare guides with quiet awareness rather than aggression, reading the land and sensing subtle changes in the environment. The stallion protects the herd not through reckless power, but through patience and vigilance. Their partnership reflects a balance that many species, including humans, sometimes struggle to maintain. Leadership rooted in responsibility, strength guided by empathy. Even during times of scarcity, the herd works together. They spread out while grazing to avoid exhausting a single area. They travel carefully across the landscape, conserving energy and protecting younger members. Their survival depends on unity, and through that unity, they continue to endure. As the planet grows warmer and ecosystems continue to shift, the story of the wild horse becomes more than a tale about animals. It becomes a reflection of our own future. Their struggle to adapt to a changing climate mirrors the challenge facing humanity itself. Each drought, each powerful storm, and each harsh season reminds us that the natural world is constantly evolving. The wild horse does not fight against the land. Instead, it listens, it learns, and it adapts. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson these animals offer. True resilience comes not from controlling nature, but from living in harmony with it. Their future, however, depends not only on instinct, but also on the choices humans make. If we choose to protect the wild horse, we also protect the open plains, the flowing rivers, and the untamed spirit of wilderness itself. Because the wild horse represents something larger than survival. It represents freedom. And as long as herds continue to run across the horizon, there remains hope that both nature and humanity can endure the changes ahead. The spirit of the wild horse is, in many ways, the spirit of the earth itself. And as long as they keep running across the open land, there will always be a reminder that even in a changing world, life finds a way forward. And if you enjoy discovering powerful stories about wildlife and the natural world like this one, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Which animal should we explore next? Because the wild still holds countless stories waiting to be told.